Aries, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today. I think we're all very excited to get back to a slice of normal here with stand-up comedy shows, and very excited to hear that you are coming to Phoenix. I know you are a comedy veteran, with a history of doing stand-up, but like the rest of us, I'm sure this year was not what you had originally anticipated. So yeah, how does it feel, being back on stage after the last 13 months or so? Just what's going through your head right now?
It varies. Some places it doesn't feel like you've missed a beat. And then other places you can kind of see the difference. So it varies, it comes and goes up and down in waves.
As you say that, I in the press release Monique forwarded to us, I noticed it said, he'll be returning to a COVID compliant comedy club, which I think is something we're going to see about in a lot of spaces as we return to normal. But it is something that, I know we have been thinking about as far as how stand-up shows are going to change, social distancing, mask requirements. This idea of trying to make people laugh while they're, wearing masks, and what that is going to be like for you.
Again, I mean, it's kind of surreal and weird. Most people don't even wear their masks during the show. So it's, again, you're not really feeling it from that standpoint. Maybe from a capacity standpoint, you feel it because, when you're used to a certain amount of people in a room and you get that feeling of a full room and people laughing when it's full, you could definitely feel the difference between that and when it's not so full and they're spread out. So, it's just it is what it is. I hopefully now, with the vaccines and people taking the vaccines, we really start to hurry up and get back to normal. It's just probably disheartening because a lot of people don't want to take the vaccine, which kind of makes you feel like, we're doing a detriment to ourselves. We're just going to keep the cycle going when we could easily end this. So I got vaccinated myself. I mean, I don't believe that there's a boogeyman or a conspiracy theory behind the vaccine. So yeah.
I'm really glad you touched on that, Aries, because I know you have, your podcast that you've been doing for about, 4 years now. But, on it, you talk a lot, I think, about, current events, what's going on in the world. I'd love to hear just kind of a little bit about what quarantine was like for you. I know you've kept on doing that podcast, but, were you able to pour more time into that, kind of dive into a lot of just all that's been going on in this last year? Or were you able to kind of use some of that extra time that you had to, work on new stand-up, work on new impressions, et cetera? Would love to hear about what this year has been like for you.
Well, obviously you have to address the elephant in the room. So yeah, we do put some attention and some spotlight on that, but life still goes on. So, you still also have to talk about the everyday mundane things and that you go through and trials and tribulations. So yeah, that's a part of it. But we try to stay as normal as possible within the realm of all this chaos. Because I think what people are starving for more than anything is familiarity. So as long as you can give people a sense of things still being the same, even though they're different, but they still stay the same, I think to me that's the key.
I appreciate that. And something I did want to touch on, as you're coming to Phoenix, is that I think, one of the impressions that you are most known for is your impression of DMX. I saw that you guys did discuss that on your podcast, but, he had, I think, his own kind of history here in Phoenix. So yeah, I was hoping, if you're comfortable, if you wouldn't mind opening up a little bit about, kind of what his death meant for you, and just kind of his huge presence, meant for kind of your your career as well, and yeah, how you're kind of navigating that. That impression necessarily, is that something that you are gonna trot out anytime soon, or would love to hear anything you're willing to share about kind of his legacy.
He was definitely a well-respected presence in hip hop. Um, and, kind of what you appreciate now that he's gone, more so now that he's gone, is just the quality of what he brought to hip hop. And he came from an era like myself where, the music was different than it is today. I mean, quite frankly, it's horrendous today. With the exception of a few artists like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar, most of these young kids, anybody with the name Little in front of it, seems to be straight trash. So he's a bygone era, and I think that's what we'll miss most. And I got a chance to work with him when he was a guest on MadTV. One of the nicest guys in the world, one of the most real guys in the world, and it's just authentic. We're coming up in this cancer culture, woke world, and guys like him wouldn't have fit in because he was too legit and too himself and too honest. Very much like myself. So I think that's the biggest thing people will miss.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm very glad you touched on, his guest starring appearance on MadTV. I had wanted to talk to you a little bit about, like I said, you have the podcast, which I think a lot of people are getting into the world of podcasting and connecting with their audiences in that way. But I know that, especially for people of my generation, we've really seen, I think, kind of a big nostalgia kick for, the 90s and especially shows like MadTV. I think a lot of shows of that era are maybe seeing like a resurgence of people watching them, getting to know the comedians from that show in that way. Are you feeling that on your end as well? Do you find that you're getting like new fans from watching your work on MadTV, or are you connecting more with new audiences, through the podcast and doing shows like you're planning on doing this summer?
I think it's a combination of everything. Certainly the podcast, even though the podcast is still, I would say, it almost in its infancy stage. I mean, it's still really trying to grow. So I don't know how much of it would be from the podcast, but of course, things like YouTube and social media and stuff like that gives people a second chance to either catch up on it or become introduced to it for the first time.
I did notice that we were going to be in the over at 100 degrees when you arrive in Phoenix next weekend.
Love it.
Yeah, kind of what you are, if there's anything that you look forward to about Phoenix in particular when you come back here, especially at Stand Up Live downtown. But yeah, just love to hear any thoughts you have on that.
It's one of the coolest places I go to every year. Of course, the weather's nice and it's only an hour flight from where I live. So that's always great. But I love Phoenix. It's just a cool place.
Obviously, you're so well known for your impressions, and was hoping you might indulge us with an impression of just kind of anyone of your choosing. I know you've got a great LL Cool J, Jay-Z, President Obama, I think, of just like from their perspective, how maybe someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger would react to coming from California to our 100-degree weather.
And I played at Phoenix. I played with Steve Nash, and I dominated. He knew how to feed the big man, give me 28-10. As long as I got 28-10, those are my numbers. I dominate. So 28-10.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm very excited for you and your return to the stage. That's all the questions I had for you this morning, but is there anything that I didn't touch on that or any message that you might have to fans of yours who are maybe a little, more trepidatious about returning to live shows? I know you touched on, wanting people to get vaccinated and being vaccinated yourself, but is there anything I didn't touch on today that you want to let people know before I let you go today?
I think you did a good job. Check out the podcast. It's called Spears and Steinberg. It's available on all streaming platforms. Or people can always hit me up on my Instagram. My Instagram under Aries Spears. And hit me up in my DM and I will send you the links, some of the links to where you can find it.
Thank you so much again for taking time to chat with me this morning, and hope you and your family are all staying safe and healthy during all this. So.
Oh, thank you so much.